back from the
We're
flip
back and we have a guest with us. What's up, Andrew?
Hey, how's everyone doing? I'm Obi. Everyone just calls me Obi. It's good to join the show finally, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I keep up with the politics. I keep up with
Do
the
you?
sports.
I
Yeah,
never
knew
knew.
I was gonna get either that show or this show, so it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So, Andrew, can you just explain to everyone your background a little bit, and if you want to touch on how we met and everything like that, and class.
You know, me and Bill are the real kind of close suburb, New York kind of guys, and no, to be honest, I mean, I didn't grow up that much further from you.
From Yonkers.
On the other side of the tracks, but yeah, you know, I kind of try to make the Republican / devil's advocate point of view, you know, partially because I believe, you know, a lot of it, I'm not, you know, Bill's probably a little more conservative in his credentials than me. That's not to take away from Bill or take away from me. That's just, and then, you know, I also really like looking at people's statements and trying to figure out, well, where is their bias? Where are they not explaining the whole story? And, you know, one of the politicians I think has done a phenomenal job, and I do love is Rob Astorino in Westchester County. So I got to work a little bit on that campaign, and Bill was obviously on that campaign and really energetic, and I'm like, okay, this kid is very ambitious. He cares about politics, so it's gonna be cool just to talk about it and everything else. And I know you're looking forward to. I don't know if you're looking forward to working on other campaigns.
Yeah. You know, my hometown, Yonkers, New York. Shout out to everyone from Yonkers, New York, watching today. Calvin Almonte, what's going on? But you know, we have a great race for mayor this year. We're looking for a candidate. People have mentioned me possibly running. Just get my name ID up, and you know, no one's running for that, so. You know, I'm looking at that.
Spano is the Democrat there.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's not. You know, he's pretty. You don't really hear too much terrible stuff about him. He is somewhat well liked. He is kind of a moderate Democrat. He's not like a extreme liberal.
Well, my problem with Mayor Mike is that Mike, he's a political calculator. When he was in the assembly, the guy was a hero for children, because he actually explained how he was molested as a child, and he passed legislation to go fight child sex abusers and everything like that. But then he comes back to the local level to run for Mayor Yonkers, and he switches party lines. And you know, I'm not someone to go criticize someone for their religion or whatever, or go question someone's religious background or whatever. But I assume him as sometimes, but he's definitely an avid supporter of the abortion and the gay marriage, and it makes me question, really, are you doing things for politics, or are you doing it because you believe in something? And I think that's a question people on both parts of the aisle have, and I think that's part of the reason why you respect Rob Astorino and others like Dr. Ben Carson, because they're going to, for the most part, shoot straight with you and say how they feel.
I mean, I you know, and I understand. I look at Spano, and he did change from being a Republican to a Democrat in the middle of his political career, right before running for mayor. But if you really want to get that seat, if you want to make some kind of change, I mean, I don't know if I can fully blame him, just because of the demographics of the city of Yonkers. Just understanding that he is a career politician and he's going to make that calculation.
Well, Obi, I completely disagree with you, because before that you had Phil Amicone, who I saw last night. He was a 2-term Republican mayor of Yonkers.
Yeah, he wasn't perfect either, though. No one was perfect. I mean,
but after that, before that, you had John Spencer, who was a wild conservative Republican and mayor of Yonkers for 3 terms, I believe, and he actually challenged Hillary Clinton when she was running for re-election in her U.S. Senate in 2006. So, and also the Yonkers City Council is a Republican majority.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot.
So on the local level, Yonkers votes Republican.
For the most part. It depends on the district. There's a lot of confusion because
The district ain't getting out the vote.
the last 30 years, I think, especially with a younger generation, there has been a negative name attributed to Yonkers, and that's really not. This is a city of, a suburban city, a city of expansion, and I mean, it does have its problems. It's had its legal issues.
It definitely does not have the reputation New Rochelle has.
What do you mean?
I mean, when someone looks at New Rochelle, someone thinks of a city that's the Queen City, a city that you're gonna go, a city that you're gonna go have your rough parts in downtown, but for the most part, it's a very nice suburban, tight knit community that borders the Long Island Sound. When you think of Yonkers, New York, you don't think of beaches and Long Island Sound. You think of a place like Getty Square and South Broadway and high-rise tenement buildings overlooking the Palisades and bordering the Hudson River. And you think of a cold January Friday afternoon.
But and I think there's also a lot of confusion
with McDonald's and the bodegas right next door.
With any of these regional cities, I mean, New Rochelle it's critiqued where I'm from, and where a lot of it is just like they'll say there's two New Rochelles. And I think that's
tell the two cities.
I don't think that's accurately true if you look into it. And I think in the case of Yonkers, this is a
well. That description of New Rochelle was used by Carl Fornero, who's the SGA student government president, and he was actually supposed to be on last week, and he had to cancel. Then he was going to come on this week. He had to cancel, so he'll be on May 5th. But that's what he described it as.
Well, I don't think that's. If you're from like Westchester, though, if you're like from Westchester, the Bronx, I don't know if you see it that way. Because obviously there's all different income levels. But most of the city of New Rochelle is nice, and part of it is urban. But I think when people come out, and CJ's from Suffolk County, they come out and they look at this place that's 3 miles from the Bronx, and they think, oh, just because it's urban, it's poor and it's rich. There's all different kind of income levels. And yes, there are extremely wealthy people in New Rochelle, and there's extremely poor people. But it's not two cities. There's so many.
They oversimplify the cities, but I think that moving beyond Westchester County and the state of New York, let's talk about the United States of America. And Dr. Ben Carson,
okay.
Pat, kick it off.
Well, all right. Yeah, I didn't have much to say in those two.
What are we?
No, well,
I don't know much about those two different areas.
Pat kicking off at the 20 right now.
Yeah, I'm kicking it off at the 20, I guess.
Obie and Bill receiving.
But I mean, it's interesting to kind of see the two different perspectives.
Broncos, Giants.
Yeah. It's interesting to see the two different areas kind of combine when it comes to bashing on which mayoral candidacy to promote. But I don't know. I guess we'll just move on to Ben Carson at this point from me. But
he's out of the loop. He doesn't know.
Yeah, I'm a little out of the loop. I don't. I mean, moving into two different places. But with Ben Carson, I mean, me and Bill were talking about more so about his viewpoints on. Just kind of how essentially America should compare into other state of the nations of other countries, and I think from what you were saying earlier today, he compared it to pretty radical places such as the state of like Nazism in Germany. Then we have Vietnam.
Yeah.
He kind of attacked it from a very brash. Yeah, he attacked it from a very brash point of view, and from what I've heard, Ben Carson really doesn't take the. He's not PC. That's his disclaimer. He's not very politically correct. I mean, I'm just kind of interested to continue on some more so about that. But I mean, have you heard much about Ben Carson? I mean,
I've heard a good amount. I haven't heard him speak that much. Obviously, is a very interesting and impressive life story. But this is what I would say. I would say that politically, there are a lot of kind of older conservatives and older liberals even that. A lot of people are going to bash what's called PC, but PC is only it always exists, right? So you can bash how PC has gotten that way, but there is always kind of this kind of acceptable political language, and you can argue if that's fair, but then there's this kind of acceptable political language, and then like more radical political language, and I don't know. You're entitled to your opinion, and obviously there are a lot of people that are, that label them. I think 40% of the country labels themselves conservative, and a lot more people more hardcore conservative. But when you're playing, and unfortunately politics is seen as a 50-50 game, but when we're talking about something like, when he visits Westchester County, that's not going to be a sell,
Yeah, I mean, Obi, you made a great point there, about being PC, but I think that it extends beyond the political realm because, like, let's say you're in a neighborhood and you got someone there that you might call a junkie. Someone that's there, just, they look like they just wet their pants at like 85 pounds. They're there putting needles into their arm. And if you say in one neighborhood, oh, that person's a junkie, they might not turn an eyebrow. But if you say in another perspective, in another place, they'll be like, ooh, can we go describe them as having a drug deficiency or like a drug addiction problem? So I think that even outside of politics, it's this thing about what verbiage or adjective you're using to go describe someone continuously. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you can. I think if you're a pundit, if you're a commentator, you should be honest and you should kind of talk honestly and not care about PC. I understand that.
But there's definitely a line that you can't really necessarily cross. Well, and I'm really cautious to hear about how far he does. I mean, with a like I said before, with a statement like that about Nazism, and all that. It's generally a kind of thing that you just don't want to, there's a line of PC that you just shouldn't cross, essentially.
Well,
and as a president, you should definitely not, you should be very careful about how politically correct you are.
Well, Obi, I know me and you, we've definitely spoken before about Fox News, and how people view Fox News, where, in my opinion, Fox News is very Northeast-centric, so to speak, where the type of Republican that they represent is it's like a Spiro Agnew or Nelson Rockefeller type. But if you have someone like Ben Carson or Rick Perry on there, where they might say something else from a different perspective because they're from a different part of the country, even they turn an eyebrow at them. So it's really not the full conservatism that they really think they are. They aren't full throttle. But on that news network, we see Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly. They hold back on saying what they really want to say, or they don't actually express the full sentiments of, like, let's say the Tea Party organizations or the constitutional conservatives.
Well, you can have I don't think you'll have a functioning political party, and I think the Democrats have ran into this problem where, you can only say this is our only position, and you can't think about that. I mean, I'm not a Rand Paul supporter by any means, but I don't agree with him on some stuff, but there is a conversation that should be, we are intellectual, we are educated. There is a conversation that should happen, and then you take your viewpoint from there. As far as the Fox News being, Fox News is one of the only kind of, I guess with the internet, there's more right of center programming now, but is one of the only right of center mainstream media. And I pointed.
Well, Breitbart and CSN, the Christian Science Monitor, and Breitbart, they're thinking about creating a TV channel. I heard from an inside source, but if they're gonna have the funding to go launch a TV channel and actually sustain it, that still remains to be a question, because they're getting sick and tired of seeing rhinos infiltrate our party, so to speak.
But I think there, and I think there is, and everyone says, well, there's going to be three parties, or there already is three parties with the Tea Party or with Elizabeth Warren, Warren on the other side, the Elizabeth Warren radical liberals. But I do think, and whether you're from Denver, Colorado, or you're from New York, there is a kind of a local element to politics. I mean, I don't think it's, I'm, ideologically very, have a gun collection versus I can't shoot a bullet. I mean, I think it's not as black and white when you look at it, the American electorate that is.
And just kind of following up on what you were saying, it's just, you can't really put a geographical sense on political views. I mean, there are some things locally that affect you. I mean, just because it's local, but on a grand scheme of things, I mean, I'm pretty sure there are two not necessarily black and white, but I mean, You could even say more of it's like there's multiple colors to the map of everyone's political view, and I mean when it comes down to it, I mean I think the country will come out with its majority of whether or not, but I definitely think there's going to be a three-party system.
Now, Pat, before Obi cited a conversation with the American people that we need to have, and we've spoken before about this, but what, in your opinion, are the issues that really needs to be addressed and spoken about?
Well, I mean,
and
like I said,
Obi, you to follow up later.
Well, I mean, like I said before, I mean, I always go back to the 2008 election and just look at those pretty much big block issues that were, brought up. I mean, I remember going to DU and University of Denver and seeing one of the debates between, what was it? I think it might have been McCain. Yeah, it was McCain and Obama back in 2008 about just, about some of those issues like foreign policy. We have healthcare. We had, what else? Just the economy and all that kind of
tax
stuff.
Codes, the economy.
Tax codes, all those kind of, as well as
abortion, gay marriage,
all that kind of,
the environment.
Yeah, and I actually, you know what? Sorry, it was definitely 2012, Obama, Mitt Romney, those kind of issues. 2012, yeah, and just kind of saying how those issues kind of prevailed. But when you look at Obama's second term and seeing what he has done, you kind of look more over about healthcare. How he basically took a strong standpoint and went after it. But when you look at it more now, you saw how Obama genuinely wanted to make it a more national, wanted to achieve more national views. And then I think, so when I think about what are going to be some of the biggest block issues now, it's definitely foreign policy. We have to tackle what's going on in the Middle East. I think that's one of the biggest problems. And then so far as healthcare, we need to really embellish some of the edges that are healthcare. And then, I'm just kind of quickly going through it. And then I think with our economy, we really need to do the same thing as with our healthcare. Just kind of take a strong standpoint and seeing what we can do there.
Cool.
Well, I think, and I was going to say this point earlier, but I think Pat being from Denver, Colorado, and us being from New York, this is a demographic that has changed recently on several issues, and that's interesting politically. I mean, if you look at New York, you have the stereotypical, the very hardcore left in Manhattan and the elitist left and whatnot, and then you have, these kind of these old upstaters, old Catholic people, whatnot. I don't think it's that. I think most people are looking at what are the systems we're putting in place. Kind of, it's not between a hawkish versus a leave the world alone kind of foreign policy. We have to be involved. And we have to be somewhat pragmatic on foreign policy, on healthcare. I think this debate has gone so far because of the political language we use. We use Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act, and we don't look at what it does policy-wise. And a lot of Democrats will tell you that people like the policies in the Affordable Care Act, but they don't look at what does that do to employment? What does that do to all these things? And you know what? It's not an option between one or two. We can design a system. We have the capabilities to design a system and fix certain things and not fix certain things within limitations that should really be, we have too much, whether you're Republican or Democrat, we have too many resources going into this to not at least admit that it isn't a decision between this option or that option. There's more options on the board, at least when it comes to healthcare.
Well, Obi, when you start talking about having options on the board, I think that gives way to a dangerous slope.
I can give you examples.
Well, Obi, that just gives way to a different slope where you're gonna have people on both sides sacrificing their ideals, perhaps. And there are people out there that will go say that compromise is a good thing. I think that compromise is one of the worst things that you can do if you're really passionate about something, because, if something's right, and you should not compromise on something being right. So I think that's one of the benefits of having a pluralistic society and not really caving in on anything and, just offering your debate and waiting for people to come to you instead of going to the people, because it's all about persuading everyone. But when we talk about the options on the board, health savings account, that has been shut down by virtually shut down by the Obama administration. Having private insurance, I mean, that's hard to come by now for people that their companies just don't pay for them to have their insurance and everything, and that really has had a detrimental effect on small businesses in the medical field, such as doctors with family practices and dentists like my parents, where they've had to move into the public sector to really go reap the gains of their profession. And it also creates a field that many have not envisioned when they were initially getting started. And it also creates a field where now, to have more doctors and everything, you're having more medical schools, and you're having schools with more lenient admission standards. So those schools, basically, they're going to go accept less caliber of a student, and they're also going to just pass them through, because that's what's happening in medical schools and grad schools all throughout the country. You're just having students pass through one grade to another, just so that they can get the degree in the doctor or the JD.
If I might
jump in here. And that just creates a position
I might just jump in
that
here,
is horrible for American society. And compromise is not good.
There's no perfect system, and my key leaning is always to protect the ability and the pricing of freer markets than doctors, and that's my background. But then I have to think, that's not the fact admission standards are not going down.
Yeah, but fair markets are always going to bring about a greater good.
Medical, but I just want to correct a point. The medical schools are not lowering standards right now.
Yeah, they are. We
need more doctors. We need more.
We need better doctors. We need better doctors, and we also need government that rolls back the regulations on them.
Look,
so
one of the problems is we have an
aging
aging population. We don't have enough doctors to deal with it. We have doctors that are overcrowded, and this is on the doctors.
No, we have government restrictions that don't let doctors take care of the elder.
I think this is a good time to take a break, because we just drove past our 20-minute basic expiration date. But we'll have a third segment. We'll come back right here, and I think this is a great portion to start on when it comes to healthcare.
Go Gams!